And we're live. Hello everybody, and welcome to my new live stream. Today we're going to be playing Surviving Mars. But first, I need to disable most of my mods. I'll keep the info bar, but that is going to be it, I think. Or maybe I won't, because the game likes to freeze up when I do things like that. So, exit game and restart, I suppose. The unmodded variety it is then. I'll work on that some other time. But anyways, Surviving Mars, yes. We're going to be playing Surviving Mars, and as the title of the game suggests, this is one where we're trying to survive on Mars. I have to establish a colony on Mars and not kill everyone. And just so you know, this is not a game I've never played before. So far I have about 10 hours in this game, and I've been moderately successful sometimes, but usually I've hit something really bad happening to my colony and have just ended it so that I didn't have to sit through the agonizingly slow death of said colony. I'm hoping to avoid the agonizingly slow death of the colony, or death at all for that matter, this time around, but no promises. Now it's our starting time. We have to pick out who we're going for. There's a bunch of different options for who's going to sponsor our mission, and what this will tell us is how many. It's a combination of how many rockets we get, how much money we get to spend on things, how much research, how many potential colonists there are, a bunch of difficulty modifiers, as well as the price of rare metals. The International Mars mission is the easiest, and Rightly class is very easy. You start out with like $30 billion worth of funding, 300 research, no one ever gets Earthsick. The United States isn't bad either. Colonists do get Earthsick and you have less funding, but that's about the worst of it. Blue Sun Corporation is up there being pretty easy. China, India, Europe. And it goes all the way down to the hardest two countries to play as, which are Russia and Paradox. But I'm going to play with the United States as my mission sponsor for two reasons. Number one, I'm actually from America, so it kind of makes sense. Number two, this is only, like I said, about my third attempt at a game, so I'd want to actually be decent at it before I try the really hard sponsors. Our next choice is, what kind of commander do we want for our colony's, effectively, governor? The one I'm going to be going for is my personal favorite so far, Hydro Engineer. We start out knowing where one water deposit is, our domes consume a quarter less water, and we start out knowing the tech that unlocks a spire to reduce water consumption. All very handy, especially since I know this is going to be a horrible shock, but it's actually not something you want for your colonists to die of dehydration. That's a bad thing, shockingly enough. Now, for my logo, I am going to go for the Mr. Handy. I do wish you could change the logo color, though. And the mystery, this is basically what story you're going to get during the course of this game, and what kind of narrative things are going to happen. I've never actually played through any of these to completion, so I don't know anything about them. Some are easy, some are hard, but I'm going to stick with random. We're not going to alter any of the game rules. I like the defaults. Now I'll hit next. And our first rocket, Athena 1? No, don't like that name. We're playing as the US, so I'm going to make this the USS Phoenix 1. Now, what do we want to take in our rocket? A drone hub is a given, as is a fuel refinery, as if we don't put a fuel refinery in, we can't start refueling our rockets, and all the ones we land will basically be stuck on Mars forever. And we can't have that. Let's see. I'm actually going to ditch the transport for the first time around. It's not really all that necessary. And we're going to get a bunch of little drones. These drones are a bit on the important side. You see, they're the ones that will actually do the construction work and build our buildings. You can't give them direct control, but you can sort of say in an abstract sense, I want this thing to happen. They'll just go grab the resources and start building for you. Let's see. What else do we need? I don't need any of the factories yet. And it'd be kind of a waste of money at this point, seeing as all of these require colonists. The Sterling generators, I'll stick with that number. There we go. We'll start out with 10 drones and one drone thingamawhatsit. I think this is a good setup, quite frankly, and if it isn't, then I guess we'll die right away and have to restart. And this is where we pick our starting location. The game's highlighted a bunch of kind of good ones that you could go with, but you can also just basically click anywhere and be wherever you like. Or click anywhere is generally harder, because these preset locations are kind of the beginner-friendly ones. So it tends to recommend you starting with one of them. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to start out on Elysium Beta. That's the one I'm most fond of. There's a larger than normal meteor chance, but every other threat is just fine. And we have a large number of resources. And I prefer beta over alpha because it's just better. They're exactly the same spot, except for Elysium Beta has one more bar of metals available. So why not start in the place with a bit more metal? Being my justification here.
Welcome to Mars.
Everyone at Mission Control is impatient to see the rocket touching down and unloading its precious cargo. Our remotely controlled eyes and hands on the red planet, the drones and rovers. Our goal is to secure a foothold for humanity by building the first Martian dome. This daunting endeavor will allow the brave pioneers, the founders, to settle on Mars and prove that the colony is sustainable. Until then, we'll have to make sure the colony has enough construction resources, water, oxygen, and power. And I'm going to immediately pause the game. We start up in this general area, so the first thing I'm going to do is some Scanny McScan. With our little orbital probes. Only one of those scans is actually worth a damn. Then I'm going to queue up some searches in the area around where we're going to be located. Down here. And all of this concrete, water and such is going to make for a nice landing spot. Let's see if I can't find where I want to land. I think this is a good spot. And now the rocket can set down. I'll leave it on normal speed for this landing because it is a rather important moment. First landing of a rocket on Mars. Here's our rover to control the drones. And the explorer and a bunch of the little guys coming on out. Now, the first thing I want to do, seeing as this rocket comes with a boatload of resources, the first thing I'm going to want to do is set up somewhere where our drones can store those resources. So I'm just going to, for now, plonk down a universal depot so they can put the resources where they like. Next, it's time to decide what technology to research, and the technology tree in this game is fairly similar to the way they do it in Stellaris, in that it's extremely randomized. The texts themselves are the same from game to game, but you will get them in a totally random order, which I like. It helps make things kind of fresh for you. Hygroscopic vaporator. Here to increase our water production with a moisture vaporator. Actually, no, that's
active
not
research.
going to be my first pick. First thing we're going to go for is advanced Martian engines. We're going to be sending a lot of rockets back and forth, so having to wait less time to refuel them because they need less fuel will be handy. Beyond that, Yes, let's get the vaporators and transport optimization. I'm going to get a transport, it'll just be on the next rocket. I'll do those 3 for now and leave it there. And then my first order of business over here is a concrete extractor. And then power, of course. Always power. Going to be a little ambitious, if I can, set up 3 large solar panels. And subsequently run my cable into that place. We'll see if this works out. There's a decent amount of surface metals over there. I'll have to send for some more metal eventually. But for now, we're gonna go up 1 speed faster. Just so we can get things going a little bit, because the speeds in this game, I found you almost never want to go on the slowest speed, just because things happen so at such a slow pace that you'll get nothing done if you're on the slowest speed all the time. You will really get nothing done at all. So I tend to prefer either speed 2 or speed 3. Depending on how much I need to focus on the minor things. And yes, there's a decent amount of surface metal deposits right now. Once we're done pulling out all the resources, the rest of our drones will get to work harvesting that metal and using it to build our solar panels and concrete extractor. So let's get to it, guys. That building is working now. But we're very soon going to come into contact with our first problem. The sun is about to run out. Daylight even is about to run out. And we're using solar panels. I don't think you need much elaboration on what that means. You see, unsurprisingly, solar panels only work in the daytime. Meaning these things will not continue to operate when the sun dies. We'll have to find another method. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, this is just a personal little preference of mine. I'm going to set up a little solar farm. There, with power lines around it and stuff, so that we know this is my power area. Now, these aren't going to get done on time, but these power accumulators are going to do a good job of solving the problem we'll have with power. And that tutorial pop-up just reminded me of something, but I'll get to it in a second. These will do a good job of solving our power issues for the moment, provided we have enough solar panels. At the very least, until we can get a few wind turbines on the go. Because these are essentially batteries. We use them to store the excess power we accumulate during the day. Or during any time, really. If we're accumulating more power than we're spending, and we have a few of these lying around, they will store up power. And we can use that power when we're lacking in actual production. Like during the night if we just have solar panels. And as I was saying about being reminded of something, we need a couple of dumping sites. Just 2 for now, though. Over here. By this concrete extractor. Because the concrete extractor, in addition to its normal... In addition to the concrete it produces, also produces waste rock, which is useless at this stage. It's just rock that takes up space. And if its storage fills up with waste rock, it will stop working. The same with concrete, but this is the more important thing. In any case, the way we deal with that is we set up some dumping sites here where our drones will take the waste rock and just stick it there. And it will take up space there. I believe there's eventually a technology you can get that allows you to turn waste rock into concrete, but I have yet to get that myself. Just because of some things I've had happen in the early game that ended up screwing me over. And now, what we need to have set up is a drone hub. So that our drones can service this area, which is a bit wider than the one provided by our rocket. Put it there so that they can also get to this water deposit. And the drone hub here is a prefabricated building, you will notice. And the important thing with prefabricated buildings is they don't need any resources. They come pre-built. You just have to basically deploy them. Once you get them deployed properly, you just stick the... What you do for deploying them is you stick them where you want them, and then some drones will build them. And then you're done. And there come some more drones. With the sun up again, we now have a power surplus of 7. I would rather have a bit more of a power surplus, honestly. So I'm going to build another 2. Actually, make that another 3 large solar panels. As well as keeping up my production of these batteries so that we can store more power when possible. I would like to have as much power stored up as I possibly can when night comes. Now, I am certain there are probably a few min-maxers of this game who, if you watch this, will probably be wondering why on earth I'm not simply doing what to you is the obvious thing, and building wind turbines as soon as I am able to, as soon as I have the resources. The answer to that is that I like to have a nice little mix of solar panels and wind turbines, and I tend to gravitate towards doing solar panels first, along with keeping my wind turbines in an area that is not the same as where the others, as where my solar panels are kept. We have our explorer here, which I should have had them checking out this anomaly from the beginning. That's a bit of a failing on my part. What I'm going to do now set it up like that, so we can start including both. We can start putting down a few wind turbines. In the next part of the area, I'm designating as my power farm. Because unlike solar panels, wind turbines do not require metal. And our surface metal deposits are running a bit low on power. We're -8 on power right now. What have we got stored up? Let's see. 22, 110, 65, 51. I'm hoping we can last the night on that, but I wouldn't put money on it, quite frankly. And now I'm going to reduce this down to 1 speed while I take care of something. That something being, I'm going to put down a couple of concrete depots over by my extractor. And let's get rid of that one I accidentally put on the concrete itself. Thank you. We'll put it there. Go up 1 speed. Now, up here,
research complete.
Despite it
Anomaly
being an
analyzed.
unexplored
Milestone achieved.
sector, I am going to start putting down a couple of wind turbines. We're still going to do solar panels, but wind turbines require resources I have more of right now. At least for the time being. They require machine parts, which I can't make just yet. Until we have colonists, I have to ship my machine parts in from Earth. If I ever do run out of them. Alrighty. We'll get those up. I scanned an anomaly, which counts as a milestone. And I've completed research into advanced Martian engines, or the better research things. And after those 2 research options, I'm going to go for decommissioning protocol. To be able to clear away salvaged and destroyed buildings. That's a rather helpful one to have early on, because as anyone who's played this game can tell you, the concrete deposits where you put down your concrete extractors will eventually run dry of resources. And I will want to be able to destroy the concrete extractors once they're sitting on deposits that no longer have any concrete in them. So it's just more useful to be able to get rid of them than have to let them sit around forever. That's one windmill up and running. That's 2. And very soon it will be 3. Right now our power production during the day has gone up to 34.7. Just giving us a hint about setting the priority. And sure, I could go over there and start rushing my water production.
Sector scanned. Anomaly found.
But I kind of want to shore up my ability to make power for the moment. Alrighty. We found some metals and a little more water. I like finding more water. It really is quite handy. But the sector I'm most happy about is B7 over here. Because of the fact it has both metals, underground metals I mean, and rare metals. So around that area I think it's going to be where my first dome goes up, as it has both of the resources that we want to work. Albeit the rare metals, there aren't a lot of them, but it's a good start. And rare metals are really only important for your dealings with Earth, because they're a valuable resource that you can actually sell back to Earth to make money. So when you start getting good surplus of rare metals coming in, then your colony can start making a profit. I've never really been able to do very well at that, to be perfectly honest. That and misjudging my power production, for various reasons, is one of the causes of several past colonies basically being destroyed. Let's see. I'm thinking we need a couple more solar panels. What's up here? Along with a few more windmills. Let's get rid of that and make sure I'm putting it in the right place. More power production. And hopefully my drones will soon harvest this deposit of surface metals for use in other things. And then I can put up a couple of power accumulators there.
Anomaly analyzed.
There's more to the barren environs of the Red Planet than meets the eye. A veritable treasure trove of undiscovered knowledge and wonder, so long as you know where to look.
Yeah. This unlocks extractor amplification and low-G drive for research. Low-G drive is the important one, I think. Drones and rovers move faster. I'll take that, thank you. Extractor amplification is basically an upgrade to your extractor buildings. You can get more resources out of them, but they also cost more power to operate. And now we finally get the hint that, hey, you might want to look into that water production thing now. Let's see what we've got from each of these. 7,019 up here. I think it's time to start us on our water production. Start being able to make water. Because we're eventually going to want to get a dome going on for our colonists to live in, and shockingly enough, those colonists need water to be able to survive. Well, they also need oxygen, but we need water production to be able to produce oxygen. So they're kind of linked together. Getting another wind turbine online. And during the night we have a power production of just shy of 24. And speaking of power, we now have the free space we need to do this, so I'm going to stick down another couple of accumulators. We need more batteries. And I'm going to go up to 3 speed. As we start working on our water extractor, I'm not going to give anything priority right now because there's nothing that we desperately need to prioritize. Besides, the extractor will be done soon. The only thing we have left to put in it is concrete. And we're getting a reasonable amount of concrete per sole production of 20 concrete per day is the translation there.
Research complete.
Pause the game real quick. Hydroscopic something. Yeah, hydroscopic vaporators for more water production with our moisture vaporator. I'm going to leave the biotech tree for now. And what we're going to get is the subsurface heater. I don't actually know that we need it, but it's just one of those things I want to have to be able to protect from cold waves, like that being one of the kinds of threats that you can run up against, like meteors, dust storms, and the like. Cold waves are the other one. A lot of these batteries are nice and charged, minus the last 2. Speaking of batteries, I'll take one more, I think. Must be connected to a power producer. I'm going to connect it from over here. Yeah, that's one little thing that I'd like to be able to do, just build through a blocking object that is a resource, but say something to the effect of, I want you to build through here, but first remove this resource. Kind of thing. That would be nice. For now, we will connect up this line so that we can get power to our water extractor. And then I need to get it connected to something that's going to be using water. I could just hook it up to a water tower and that would be nice and done. first thing I'm going to do here is get our Moxie online for oxygen production. Speaking of the Moxie, I want to have it on the power lines so that it will produce power. Let's see, right about there. And we'll stick down a water tank and an oxygen tank to start storing up those resources and get some water production and oxygen production going on. So we have at least a little of that. Needs to be connected to an oxygen consumer. Only the big reason for those messages so far is probably that the tanks for both have not finished being put together yet. Yeah. I'm still going to be leaving on the tutorial messages, just actually get rid of that. We'll hook it up like that. Nice and simple. Maybe I was off about this thing requiring water to work. Let's look. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a water maintenance requirement. But in an odd sort of way, it kind of does. Seeing as the water and oxygen use the same pipes, so I guess it sort of takes some extra and, I don't know, somehow makes it into oxygen.
Sector scanned. Anomaly found.
I'm not exactly the most scientifically literate person in the world, so the little details of things like that escape me. All I know is this Moxie thing is some sort of oxygen and production prototype thing that I think NASA is testing for a Mars mission or something. I read that somewhere. I don't remember where. Might have been Wikipedia. Might have been an actual news article. Might have been both. But in any case, to have a nice stable little setup going on so far. And since I've got my water and oxygen production going on at the moment, I think it's time that we set up the fuel refinery. So that we can start getting fuel produced to be able to send our rocket back to Earth and resupply. I'm also going to stick a fuel depot over here to store our excess. And of course, now we need to get a little bit of water production hooked up to the fuel refinery. The thing is, we use it to produce, I think it's hydrogen fuel. Yeah, we use this thing to produce hydrogen fuel, I believe, so let's get that hooked up.
Cable fault reported.
Cable fault. That'll take metal to fix it. We have 32 metal right now, but I am trying hard not to spend my metal. Predicted production of 12 fuel per soul. And since we only require 40 to refuel the rocket, that's what we're waiting on right now. I think we need a little bit more in the way of power production, though. Let's see. There. There we go. Then I'm also going to put a few accumulators in with our solar panels in this sort of area. I'd like to have as many batteries available to charge up as possible. You can never have too much water or power or oxygen when you're building a colony on Mars. As far as I'm concerned with this sort of thing, we need to have redundant systems, and redundant systems for redundant systems, and redundant systems for redundant systems for redundant systems, and so on. Because this isn't like City Skylines, where if you have a little traffic backup, it might lead to people being pissed off and leaving your city. Because you're not removing all of... because of the fact that you haven't managed to get all of the waste out of places in time, or a few people have died because the police were backed up or something. Rolling blackouts aren't just annoying in this game, they can be fatal. Because consider this, there is no oxygen on Mars, so what do you think will happen if we had blackouts every single night? I can tell you that quite a few citizens would be suffering from a mild case of death. Possibly a mild case of asphyxiation, or dehydration or starvation, depending on which particular resources are affected by it.
Anomaly analyzed.
There's more to the barren environs of the red planet than meets the eye.
Explore AI and low-G high-rise. I'm not going to set either of those to research right now. Low-G high-rise is honestly irrelevant for the moment, and will remain as such until the day that we decide to construct a dome and need places in it for people to live. Till then, it's basically irrelevant. We've finally started to refuel our rocket. As you can see, power output, our power surplus jumps all the way down from 70 to 18 when night falls. Right now, a vast amount of our power is dependent on solar panels, with just a little bit on wind. So you see now why I want all these power accumulators? Most of which we can't build because polymers, so I am going to get rid of them until we have more polymers. Yeah, you see why I want all those accumulators? As it is right now, we're not producing enough power to really be able to make a difference. Let's see. I'm going to have you come down here and charge for
Sector
my power
scanned.
grid. We don't have any more anomalies, and I would like to keep my Explorer nice and fueled up. But for now, a lot of our buildings are looking dusty and getting some damage on them. We need a new resupply rocket. A transport. Plenty of resources all around. I'll take some more drones. And actually, another fuel refinery wouldn't go in this either. I'm thinking that would do us for now.
Research complete.
Transport optimization's done so everything can move faster. Let's see, where did that one get off to? Oh, transport optimization was just transport harvests faster and can hold more shit. I'm going for drone swarm next to be able to have more drones and be constructed with 2 more. We're also going for Mars crowdfunding. See, if a one-time grant of that's either 100 million or 1 billion. 1,000 million, I mean. Yeah, no shortage of meteor strikes around here, it seems. That's for sure. No shortage of those meteor strikes. But you probably noticed this, but right now we are in the fairly early on game, in that most of what I'm doing is just setting up the infrastructure. And I'm moving fairly slowly in the early game bits because I'm trying to be cautious about my early game development. I don't want to spend all of my resources and then not be able to get an important building built or maintain something critical. So I'm going slow in a lot of cases. Which might annoy some people, but it just to me strikes me as the better approach to take, really. Right now, halfway, just over halfway to having our rocket refueled. Then we can send it back to Earth. Damn, that was close. That meteor wasn't too far from my rocket, in fact. I do not want to see what happens if your rocket gets hit by a meteor. I wonder if the rockets can actually be destroyed by meteors. I've never really looked into that. They probably can, it's just not something I ever cared to consider, honestly. Now we're going to land our second rocket there. We're down to speed 2, just because I always enjoy watching the rockets land. And then even to speed 1. The rocket landings are always awesome to watch. It seems that way to me. Can unload stuff. We'll just collect those resources for my transport. Have plenty of polymer now to repair these buildings. Because a lot of my battery is, as well as a few solar panels and some wind turbines, look to be having issues with their maintenance, so we'll need to do something about that soonish. Not long now until we fully refueled our original rocket, though. Now I'm going to get as much of this metal off of the surface as I can with my transport, and then deposit it. Speaking of which, I'm going to put down a metal deposit. Along with a couple of the other specific resource ones. Just so that I know what needs to be deposited where. And I can start doing some more work on splitting things up.
Sector scanned.
The Phoenix 1 is now ready for takeoff. And I'm going to have it lift
Milestone
off.
achieved. Vehicle battery low.
Ah. That vehicle is full. But our friends, the little drones, are taking care of that for me. Your battery is low. Well, go get a recharge. Get back to work after you've recharged your battery, I think. Milestone to launch a rocket from Mars. I'm going to request maintenance on these buildings that are getting close, I think. Not that one, it's still got a ways to go yet. But the other ones. So they're getting pretty close to needing it. Maintain all of our equipment. It's a very important thing to do. If we ensure equipment maintenance, then we can keep things going in good order. If we don't, then we're in for rough times, as we fail to effectively maintain our equipment. Our fuel refinery needs maintenance. I think the water tower and oxygen tank do as well. Kindly maintain those buildings for me, guys. there's our refinery, back pristine and working again. But you should be able to see from all this work I'm having to put in just how important it is to maintain all your buildings, because let's say I either didn't have the resources or thought it wasn't important enough to maintain all this stuff. In addition, I had a working dome. Well, if all that broke down, then our rockets would be stuck on Earth and on Mars forever, because we wouldn't have the fuel to launch them again. Our colony would run out of oxygen, everyone would suffocate to death. Our colony would run out of water, everyone would die of dehydration. Our colony would run out of power, but we wouldn't have the power production to supply our resource output buildings, which means we wouldn't be able to get the resources to maintain in our buildings. So it's all kind of important that you keep an eye on these sort of things. Oh, hey Alex, sorry you for not replying, but I have to alt-tab out to check the chat, so that makes an issue. And I haven't killed my settlers yet because I don't have settlers yet. I'm currently in the really early phase, which means that I have robots. I have a bunch of little robots that are building my buildings, and a tiny little farm of solar panels and windmills that are shoving power into my batteries. I don't even have colonists yet, because I haven't put up a dome just yet. For one thing, let me show you how much a dome costs. 80 concrete, 20 metals, and 10 polymers. I only have 23 polymers. I could probably afford the metal and the concrete, but I need my polymers to be able to keep my... I need my polymers to be able to keep my batteries working. So right now, that is not an option. So for the moment, I'm probably just going to stay doing things like this in the early bits. Let's see. I could set up a second fuel refinery and just start stockpiling fuel. And we have a second concrete deposit up here that would probably do with... that I could probably do with getting some more of. That's too far from a working drone commander, so I would have to plunk down my second drone hub. That said, I've been meaning to get my second drone hub down at some point. This might be a good excuse to do it, but I don't know. Let's see, our water and oxygen production are full. How do I do this? Yeah. I'm thinking... yeah, we'll let them set up that power line as far as they'll go. Then I put down a drone hub to expand our lines of operation as far as I can. So let's see. Drone hub. Too far from working drone commander. Yeah, that's basically on the edge of our old drone hub's capacity. And I'll expand it up there so I can get more resource production. Speaking of resource production, let's grab up a couple of concrete deposits and dumping sites. And so that our little... Yeah, let's get some concrete deposits and dumping sites. That way, when we do get the concrete extractor down, we can do this right-sies. Actually, get rid of a little of that so that I can put the concrete extractor in that place, where it'll get the most resources. There. That should do us. But yeah, as I was saying, Alex, I have not managed to kill all of my settlers yet, but I'm fairly certain the only reason I haven't killed any colonists yet is
Research
because
complete.
I don't have any yet. Okay, we picked up decommission protocol. That'll be handy. Now, whenever we finally extract the we finally exhaust the resources from one of our concrete deposits, we will be able to just destroy that building rather than having to let the ruins sit around for the rest of forever. Let's see. Moxie upgrade, I think, for my next item in the queue. That way we can have more oxygen output. Because that's been one of the things that has inadvertently killed some colonists in the past. In that I underestimated how much water and oxygen production I was going to require when I built an additional dome. Which ended up leading to the deaths of a few colonists because reasons. Though, if we're being fair, I think I can blame at least part of that on the way that information is displayed, because what your oxygen surplus and water surplus are isn't necessarily what your oxygen surplus and water surplus are. Because a few times I've seen them going up and down for no apparent reason other than the fact that the amount of oxygen and water surplus seemed to go up after I constructed a new oxygen tank or water tower. So for some reason, when I decide I want to store more resources, that makes it go up. I never really understood that. Speaking of oxygen and water, we want to do that now. Store some more of those resources. And America sent me some more funding for my colony. How nice of them. about 300 million, I think that is, dollars in funding at the moment left. I started with like 6 billion, I think. As far as funding goes, I started with roughly $6 billion in funding to build my colony. I've had to spend a bunch of it on resources and prefabricated buildings and the like, and drones. These little guys, which I don't directly control, I just sort of give them vague, kind of nebulous orders to do something. Okay, sorry for the pause. Typical random interruption stuff going on. It's a little better than I'm used to, so it's fine.
Sector scanned.
Right. Let's sink our oxygen tank into the main network. Oops. And I'll add one more to that. A central location around that volcano type structure is just about scanned, and we'll be starting to widen out a little for what we're looking at. And I'm suddenly reminded of something that I should have done earlier, but completely forgot about. Building a sensor tower to boost our ability to construct. Go. That's another water tank, and the concrete extractor up there should hopefully be up and running in the not too distant future. We need 2 more metals and 2 machine parts for that. We're not short on either, so that's not a concern. It's just the fact that we're having to transport them a very long distance. Our sensor tower is online. That should boost scanning. We can get the stuff nearby. And he's scanned and such. And have a better idea of what our neighboring areas look like.
Pipe leak reported.
It's fortunate for us that that's just a pipe into a secondary tank, and that we're not actually making use of those resources much yet. Beyond storing them, I mean. Now, let's make that concrete
Sector
extractor our
scanned.
top priority, I think.
Cable fault reported.
Clear those away. Don't need to know about something I already know about. Well, the amount of times I've been interrupted in recent minutes have begun to increase. So I do believe it is time to call a close to this first stream of Surviving Mars. Thank you to everyone who turned up for this. I do appreciate it. And I hope you'll decide to watch my next stream, or just the next time I stream this game, or whatever, because you can't expect to see more streaming on this channel, probably, in the near future. So, thank you for your viewing patronage, and so long for now.